Coach Peggy Show, all things wellness with Coach Peggy Willms. How many people in your life have told you you're half of this or half of that? Are you settling? No more. This show is about all things, and you deserve it. It's about your money, your lifestyle, your beliefs, and even romance. We extinguish excuses and raise the bar to all things possible. It's time to use your ATM, you know, your all things mindset. Welcome to the Coach Peggy Show. Bold, badass, and never half in.
Hey, you guys, I have up a perfect backdrop because we just got over the Christmas little hump here and we're headed into the new year. And my guest today is going to inspire you to face the next year with hit the ground running. So you're listening to Coach Peggy here, where we talk about real things, real people, real problems, real solutions, real results, and we tell real stories because I really believe stories are how we connect. So listen, let me do a little bit of housekeeping first. If you ever have a question about the show or want to be on the show, just email me at peggy@allthingswellness.com. If you want to catch any of the previous shows or crazy things I have going on out there, you can catch me on All Things Wellness YouTube. And then later in the show, we're going to do a lightning round with Martariesa that's not rehearsed. And so that's after the half-hour mark. And I'm going to talk to you about some giveaways that are going to come up on some books that I have written and how you too could possibly be published, your story be published in a couple of books I have coming up. So that's really cool. So stick around. All right. So today's show, you guys, let's just lead off with this title, right? So you can do anything.
Yes.
Don't let anyone tell you no, right, girlfriend? And I always start a show with a quote that's pertinent to the show. So here we go. Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside of you greater than any obstacle. And that's from Christian D. Larson. All right, Martariesa, I'm going to brag about you for a second because nobody brags about themselves. Okay, so hey, listen, Martariesa Logue, she epitomizes dedication, conscientiousness, and unwavering drive. These adverbs and adjectives, just hang on tight. So this girl surpasses expectation. She was born with thrombocytopenia, I'm doing a good job, absent radius. So TAR syndrome, radial bones, decided not to join her in Earth, but she doesn't care. So only 5,000 people in the US have this, you guys. And that's not really what we're going to totally focus on today. We really want to focus on this girl has excelled. She was in gymnastics, ski club, played soccer, academically. She got her bachelor's in science at Liberty University as a paralegal. She's an educator. She participates in her church. She's a community leader. I have no breath, girlfriend. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. How are you? Did you bring your favorite coffee mug or one of them? I have to brag about myself.
Yes.
What to say? Simply blessings. Oh, cheers.
Yes.
I want to give a shout out to my producer today too, Emily. Say cheers to her. And we're coming up on a new year. And girl, listen, you're just a bright, shiny light. That smile is how I fell in love with you. That's it. That's it, people. It's your smile. First, before we start, though, I wanted you to tell me the back history of your first name.
Oh, that is fun. So it is made up. My mom was watching a soap opera and she thought it was one of the main characters. The doctor said, what show? And she was naming the show and he was like, no, that was not her name. And so my mom was like, oh, well, I like it anyway. So, so then they were like, well, how do you spell it? And so very unique name, made up completely. And I love it.
You know, the thing is that doesn't shock me with you, right? I mean, you hit the ground literally with a name that you've just paved your way. You fought against societal norms, expectations, you know what, just even when I was thinking earlier, and I've known you for a little bit here, and I was thinking earlier about when I just had my second grandson. My son just had my second grandson. And you pray for health and happiness and just, that everything goes well. And you don't really plan ahead for the plan B, C, and D, like the what if we don't, because we haven't, paved the way on that. And I was thinking about your parents on how, like, I just want to give my hats off to them because I know they've been a huge support and I want to talk about that. But that's amazing. What's the most unique Christmas gift you got? I know you love them. What did you get that sticks out?
I don't know if it would be the most unique, but it was a new body pillow that came in this wee teeny tiny package, and now it is huge. takes over our bed.
I love it.
Yes.
I selfishly am asking you that because I got like the best gift ever.
Oh, I
And
want
it
to
just
know.
came, yeah, I know you can't even wait, right? It just came in the mail yesterday and I FaceTime. So my family's in Colorado. And my oldest son, he's going to be 37, and he hasn't had social media since MySpace. Girl.
Oh.
Hates it. Introverted Pisces, just leave him alone. He got me. Oh, he made me into an animated little. Have you seen these little pop head animated characters?
Oh my goodness. My
Stop.
brother-in-law wanted to get everyone one. And his wife, my sister, was like, nobody wants that.
Everyone wants that.
Yes,
Okay.
I am going to have to show her this video and be like, hey, look.
I have a book in my hand and everything. And I was just like, I was so touched by it because he puts a lot of thought into things. And I saw it and he's like, he said this. I know you guys were so off target here. He writes on a piece of cardboard.
Oh.
Right. And he says, Merry Christmas, Mom, just like you, one of one.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's
Mic
so
drop.
cute.
I know, mic drop. All right. So, hey, let's go back. I want to go back to the beginning. And the reason I want to go back to the beginning, and I said I don't want to focus hardcore on TARS and that is your label or anything, but it's not common, honey. And I want you to kind of talk about what it is, but I also believe we need to go back a little bit in order to show your tenacity and how you weaved through this thing called life so that the rest of us can stop whining and be more grateful. That's really what, because I'm writing a book on the unsheltered, the homeless as well. And I have been so humbleized, which isn't a word, in the last few months that I complain about nothing.
I cannot wait for that book to come out. As soon as I saw that, I was like, my heart, wow.
Girl, I tell you, it's because everything's based on stories, and that's all I've done in the last 2 years. And that's how you and I met, is I'm grabbing your story to put in the Wellness GPS book, which you guys is the third book of an All Things Wellness trilogy that's coming up. And Martariesa is actually writing the foreword. She has written the foreword for that book. We're so blessed to have her name splashed on the front. And that book's going to come out, like I said, about in May. But these are compilation stories, and we're sharing stories. And so, yeah, the unsheltered one is massive, humbling. Like I cry every single day editing those stories because they're coming from the streets or people who have been on the streets. All right, let's go back to birth. Let's go back. So tell us a little bit about TARS and how maybe it has affected you or your family. Your turn.
Okay, so TARS itself, I actually don't know a lot about it because I don't want to know a lot about it. So I didn't really do a whole lot of research until I was asked to write about my story. And I was asked, what is it exactly? And I was like, well,
just in the last 6 months or so?
Yes. So I knew I was different. I knew I was missing 2 radius bones, but I didn't really know all the other side effects. So I have been going to the doctors recently, just thinking, oh, I turned 30. Oh, life is changing. And come to find out, there are actually a lot of side effects of having TARS. Yes.
So that's the bone that's missing. We have the radius and ulna. And so it's right. Exactly. Okay. And so you're thinking, hey, I beat life, man. I'm living life. And now some of the side effects, oh my gosh, that's really good to know.
Yes. So when Mom was pregnant, I am firstborn in the family for her. She went to the doctors. She had her amazing ultrasound, and the doctors told her some news that most people would take and be a little devastated. But my dad was actually a really big support and really leaned on God when they said, hey, your baby seems healthy, but we are doing this ultrasound and she does not look healthy. She looks like she's missing an arm, actually, because I was laying on my right arm. And then they took another ultrasound and was like, whoa, she might have both arms, but they're short and we're not really sure what's going on. And it seems like she's not developing very well. And there might be a little bit of, I don't like to use this word, but I'm just going to say verbatim what they told my parents, that she's going to be born retarded. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's tough. Right. And this, I am, going on 33 this 2024. So back then it was kind of like, oh, that's a lot in the 90s. And so they were like, Tammy, maybe you should abort. Maybe you shouldn't have this baby. It's going to be a lot on you. And so as new parents, first of all, they're like, wow,
Firstborn.
this firstborn, they have my mom did have younger siblings. So my dad had a younger brother. So they knew that raising kids can be difficult, but raising a kid that could need additional support, which was nice because I was firstborn. So they had the time.
Right.
Another nice thing is my dad, when they got married, was, you're not going to work. You're going to be a stay-at-home mom and you're going to take care of these kids and I'm going to provide everything financially. You're going to, cook the dinner. You're going to stay home with them and raise them. We're not going to get a bunch of babysitters to raise them. We're going to raise our family. So right off the bat, we knew that mom was going to be able to take care of me no matter what was happening. So they prayed about it and dad was just like, you know what? She's meant to be here. She's meant to be here and she's going to have a purpose. So they continued with the pregnancy and then, time to be born. And they say, she's not coming. She needs to go to Pittsburgh to McGee's Women's Hospital. We're having some complications. She might not make it. So this is now twice, the devil's saying, she's not going to come into this world because there's something that she's going to do great.
Right.
And mom just held on and they ended up doing a C-section. And here I am.
Wow.
And so I came out and mom was just relieved. I didn't cry. Said he did have to smack me.
It's interesting that I keep getting hung up on the fact that how we, and then, it was a while ago, 3 decades ago, but how we go from physical challenge appearance to immediately it's going to connect to intellectual,
Yes.
through an ultrasound. It's like you already are labeling something, faithless medical environment.
Exactly.
Faithless medicine. Wow. So you have other siblings though, right?
I do. I have 2 younger sisters that are quote unquote normal.
And they're spaced how many years behind you?
About 5 and 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as I was thinking about putting together this show, because you guys that are listening out there, the main thing that I really want you to take away from this is I want you to sit take a look inside yourself and really think about your blessings and think about, are your challenges really a challenge? And what is challenging? Is challenging because you're tired and it's a challenge? Is challenging because you might need more information to be able to face your obstacle? But today's show really is about that due diligence, that tenacity to just, right? Because what you have done that has been so beautiful is you have accepted no less than the best from you. And I want the viewers of the show to understand that, I'm sure you had bullies. I'm sure that you had mentors or adults around you that said, why don't you stick to the academic stuff and kind of get off, the balance beam thing. That's why what I really want to focus on with you and how we kind of did some of that. So did you go to public school?
I did. So jumping out of birth and coming home, my parents, they have both their boats. They have the Martariesa and Anna. So right off the bat, they didn't know how to teach me those normal things. Like, okay, after the diaper stage, we're learning to potty train. How is she going to wipe herself after, the potty stage? How is she going to write her name?
Right.
And so those little things that we do take for granted, my parents didn't struggle with, but they went to a doctor in Columbus and he said, you need to remember her normal will never be your normal. And I love that.
Yeah, and what is normal? It's so, I had a guest on the show, Mark Reed, dear friend of mine, and we were talking about a banana. Just saying. One of the stories he wrote for one of my books before was Bananas to Buddhism. And he was just saying, we only call it a banana because somebody else told us it was a banana. So what is normal is kind of where I'm going with that, is that what is normal? And, you just have to redefine it for yourself and to be productive and confident. And, so as you went through that and you went into public school, that public environment, I'm sure right away, I'm not going to be sure because we're smaller then.
Yes.
So it maybe wasn't as obvious-ish
So it was really cool because my mom took me to the public library and they had like a tot time. So I started making these friends in library when, you're supposed to be quiet. So we're really just figuring out things based on grabbing and touching. And so for all of us younger tots, we're all just grabbing. And I can remember, not a whole lot, but I remember one specific memory of being there and they didn't treat me any different. All the kids all grabbed balloons and we were making paper mache. And then when I got into kindergarten, because my parents did not send me to preschool, I went to kindergarten in public school. And the teachers are the ones that asked, how is she going to cut? What scissors? How do we help her write? But the kids, when it was recess, we had no differences. We went to play kickball. We would exactly.
We've got that learned behavior thing from those adults, that generational stuff. Kids typically come into the world pretty pure, pretty, not necessarily compassionate out of the gate because they smack each other. But yeah, that's interesting. And then as you grew, probably the kids started changing a little bit.
Actually, I'm really blessed with my friends. Just a
I
few
feel
years
so good
ago,
with that.
just a few years ago, during COVID, we were supposed to have our 10-year high school reunion, but we didn't get to. We have a Facebook page, and I had just wrote how blessed I was with my graduating class, that I had a few as we got older in high school years. But as far as elementary school and the beginning of middle school, they never treated me different because of my hands. Now, teenage girls, they can be something else.
Mean girls, good God, yeah.
But as far as my physical difference, I am so blessed with the friendships I have and the tight-knit group I have and my family that I think that's why I don't want to say life is easy. But I think that is why I have an easier time than some that have physical differences, because I had such a strong support system. And I can't even start to tell you how much a difference that made.
Sister, I can tell how blessed you feel and are. It just radiates from you. And, I think part of it is we don't teach that confidence and self-acceptance and self-love. And so, when we're little. And so I think even as we go into the mean girl stage at age 13, we're already questioning ourselves and have self-doubt that we're not even strong enough in our support system to believe who we are and what we can do, that then we're impacted by this meanness. You have had it drilled in you since so early on that you were a miracle and that you were here. And I really think that that's unique. It's probably not more of the norm than maybe, you think. I wish parents would just drill that into the kiddos. What's making you emotional right now? Is it just thinking about the support?
It is. I mean, you read so many times on Facebook that like bullies, and I had no one to turn to, and I felt so alone. And don't get me wrong, I have moments where I'm like, oh man, I wish I could just call so and so. But for the most part, being physically different, because so many people have inside differences and they're not talked about enough. But being physically different and in such a strong support system, that's what's getting me, like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
When you think of, so let's think about middle school to high school. What is the most, or a couple of the most profound obstacles that you can think of that either you had to really work at to participate in, or if somebody told you you couldn't and you're like, oh yeah. But what are a couple of instances? Because I want people to really understand how you pushed through things and that we can all do that.
Yeah, so crawling was difficult. I know we're going backwards a little bit, but crawling was difficult for me because I wanted to crawl on my wrist. So right here, I wanted to crawl on that. And if you use it too much, it's gonna, wear it down, make it flat. So my mom really had to work with me to put my hands flat down. And to this day, I still have some issues. I have to remind myself, flat down, don't use your wrist for things.
Wow,
But just keep going at it. I was watching one of your podcasts the other day, and it was talking about, continuing. And I just was like, oh my goodness, this is so good. But you just have to make it your new norm, your new, not resolution, but in your weekly challenge. So just making sure that I'm using my hands, not using my wrists. And that's why my mom put me in gymnastics, because you can't really think, you have to just do. So going on the bars, you have to use your fingers, you have to use your hands to grab hold of those bars when you're doing it. You can't use your wrists.
Exactly.
Using the rock wall, you have to grab hold. You can't use your wrist to hang on. So that would be one of the difficult things physically. Volleyball. So my friends loved volleyball. I was more soccer, but I wanted to hang out with my friends in middle school. So I tried out for the volleyball team and I got cut. And it hurt because they told me I was cut because there wasn't another coach available. So they had to cut some girls.
Oh, tell me the truth.
I was horrible at volleyball. I mean, I would have cut myself off the team. I couldn't get that serve to go over the net.
Yeah.
I couldn't set to save my life.
Yeah.
But basketball came around and my friends were playing basketball. So I tried out for the basketball team and I made it. And my friends got cut.
That's amazing. When I was thinking about you talking about rock climbing or some of the things that I don't want to even use the word normal, but other children, I'll use myself, right?
Mhm.
I'm thinking, number one, I know it's going to be hard. What if I fail? How do I do it? The learning curve, who's going to go with me? Do I want to embarrass myself? Those whole lists of things, just as somebody who could and should be able to rock climb. And you approached it the same way that I did. You didn't stand there and go, comparatively, I mean, this person can do that. You just really took on your own path, stayed in your own lane to figure out what worked for you.
Yes.
And that's I think what I'm always saying is that, you have to do you, boo. We have to still do the things that we have to do in everyday life, but you do have to shape shift. And the other thing, Martariesa, that I just want to share is that we all aren't even going to have this body that looks normal anyway. Many of us, right? I mean, arthritis and accidents and migraines and twisted, all those things that can happen. And it's the way you approach things and the way that your coping skills, your resiliency, it needs to be as infectious as possible, because the rest of us don't know what the hell is going to happen. Seriously, and then all of a sudden you're 50 years old and you can't do what you did you can't, it's not even in the back, in the toy box. It's just, you don't even know what to do. So you went off to college.
Yes.
You studied to be a paralegal. What took you in that direction? What made you want to go down that lane?
Well, backing up just a little bit, in high school, senior year, I wanted to be a pro soccer player so bad. I enjoyed all aspects of soccer. I was goalie for a few years in my younger years. I could, grab the soccer ball, do a flip, throw it in. So I mean, I really excelled at that. But life happens and my family had an emergency. And
Okay.
so I had to reshift. I had to think, okay, how can I be there for my family? Because they have always been there for me. And so that led me to community college. Well, our community college at that time, did not have any sport teams. Right. So it was like, all right, well, I was just going to go to college and play and let the advisor tell me what classes to take and just focus on soccer. So now I'm like, oh, what should I do? And just thinking back into all my years, the secretaries at school, they were awesome. I love them. I don't have a bad memory about them. Anytime someone needed something, they went to the secretaries. The secretaries knew everything. And so I had told my advisor, I don't know what I need to do to be a secretary, but that's what I want to graduate in. So I went into the business field, got my associates in business for administrative assistant, and graduated from community college, got a job right after. And then actually here at the ESC, so I started in a different position than I am now. And while I was here, we started developing a legal part of the Educational Service Center.
You went that way. Okay. Gotcha.
And they said, oh, well, we have an attorney, but we need like a secretary for him. And you already know the ESC, so why don't you go back for your bachelor's? And I was like, okay, well, I really don't want to go anywhere. So I was looking online. I was like, okay, it's going to take a lot of time. I'm not going to be able to go to Bible study. So I enrolled in Liberty University to take Bible classes so I could still get some Jesus in. And it was just awesome. So went that route, graduated, and then another wrench got thrown in the road. So we actually are still in process, but have custody of my niece. And yes, so being a paralegal requires you, you know, off the tip of your hat, you have to go to court. You have to go turn these documents in.
Yeah.
But the way that we actually received her was through foster care, because she was removed from a home already and had to go into foster care. So we had to become foster parents to get her. And that takes a lot of time, especially during COVID.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I shifted from that, and now I'm here as assistant director of the Virtual Learning Academy. So I'm typing on the keyboard every day, and still we have legal and physical custody of Isabel. Sorry, she's over here. So I looked at her and smiled, but
That's awesome.
that's how I ended up in that field.
My goodness sakes. Wow. I'm still astounded with the path that you have been able to walk with so much support and positivity, because I really do believe we manifest the way. You know, we send off the positive vibes, or we choose to not have positive vibes. And, you know, that energy attracts whatever. But when you really are steadfast in confidence, and you're steadfast in who you are, where you want to go, what you accept, set your own boundaries, exclude those things that don't add to your life, that take away, it really does almost guard you and protect you down this. That's how I feel when I think about you, is that you're almost protected down this path that you've so chosen to take or be led. And that's hard to carve intentionally for some of us who need to be doing that, or, you know, to be able to. What I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and head to commercial in a little bit. And you guys, when we come back, we're going to talk more about just how not to say no and not to accept any less, right? To just pave on, especially as we're coming up to 2024. There's lots going on in the world. We want to just calm down the noise a little bit for the next 35 minutes of your life. So make sure that you do come back. You're listening to the Coach Peggy Show. We'll see you real soon. Hey, you guys, thanks for coming on back. We're talking about all sorts of things about resiliency and coping skills. And my guest, Martariesa, here. I want to first, we're going to do a lightning round, real fun stuff, but I want to just give you the giveaway that I'm going to. Oh, how nice. So the first book I want to give away to you guys, The Fourfold Formula. The second one is Win the Wellness War. The third one is a book that I wrote with my 29-year-old son called Tanner Tells Tales. I want to give anybody who emails me, the first 5 people that email me, I'm going to give you copies of all 3 of those books signed. You can hop on Amazon and grab them too. And I also just want to do a quick mention for you to please stay till the end of the show. And I'm not one of those TikTok teasers right now, but I'm just saying, please stay. I want to talk to you about a project I'm doing with the unsheltered, the homeless, and you can absolutely make a difference. So welcome back, Martariesa.
Woo!
Woo, cheerleader. Oh, 2, 4, 6, 8. Hey, so you know, I talked about this lightning round thing. So I'm going to start off with asking you, are you a salt or a sugar girl?
Oh, probably more salt.
I thought for sure you were going to say both. Really? You're like the chips and the pretzely and the really?
Can I just bring over my little snack that's on my desk?
Oh, you do. You are. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, see, I've got, so Emily, my producer here, can you tell me, Emily, are you a salt or a sugar girl?
I love sweet stuff.
Too. Sweet. Coffee is its own food group, and so is butter. No, I'm just kidding.
Coffee, yes. But let me tell you this, I don't like cake. So
The texture.
just not at all.
It's just not your gig. I
Nope.
have another one for you. So this past year, 2023, can you tell me one of your favorite memories? It's really hard to give me one, but what is?
I got married this year.
You know what? I was going to mention that, girl.
That would be my favorite memory.
Celebrate good times. How'd you guys meet?
Actually, at Austin Lake. So little plug-in, Austin Lake in Toronto, Ohio. I was working there and he was a camper there. And he's a little younger than me, so I had to wait till he turned 18. But his family is great. I used to babysit his younger brothers, and his mom was wonderful.
Oh, honey, I love it. Congratulations. That like tops anything that I would say in 23. I think one of Well, probably the best thing is moving back into my house after being gone for 6 months from Hurricane Ian. Our house was about 70% no longer with us. So that was probably my highlight. I have one more for you. Look way ahead. Now you're going to be one of those people like me that's going to probably never retire, but what would retirement look like for you? What do you see that you want to be doing minus a paycheck being needed? What does retirement look like for you?
I would like to run a nonprofit coffee shop that inspires kids.
Sign me up. We do our own podcast for it. Sign me up.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. We need to start that before you retire. Okay, keep me posted. That's
Yes.
amazing. All right, I want to go way back. So for you guys who were listening before the commercial, we kind of went a little bit through Martariesa's life with TARS and kind of a little bit some of the obstacles that she's maybe faced and still did them. Hell of a soccer player here, tumbling across the field. Go back to, let's just hover in your 20s for a little bit. Let's hover with struggles with trying to get a job, struggles with new relationships after college. We always have to have, our life evolves. How did you navigate your 20s, the challenges in your 20s?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to give all glory to God on this one because full circle, my Sunday school teacher helped me get my job that I'm at today. So she actually said, she called me up and was like, hey, did you still need a job after college? And I'm like, yeah, we have an opening. Would you like to come in and interview? And I came in and interviewed. So plug into her. She has been awesome. She babysat me when I was little. She became my Sunday school teacher, became my mentor, and then got me my job. And I've been here it's going on 13 years.
Yeah, you're so faith driven. You're so faith driven and their fear doesn't really come to play, does it? What would be that emotion or that kind of get outside your comfort zone thing, like fear, those types? How do you cope with those types of things that you feel might trip you up?
I don't know that I actually know what fear is because of the way my parents raised me. Now, anxiety is a different story. Because not driving, being passenger with brake lights definitely trips me up. But as far as fear itself, my parents instilled so much in me to just go after it that you don't really ever fail until you give up. So as long as you keep trying, you're succeeding.
Where is my mic? That's a mic drop. That's a pull out the gavel thing there. You don't, you don't be don't be fearful, right? What is it you said? That unless you fail, there is no option.
No, you just keep trying. You just succeed in a different way. I mean,
it might look a little different, but without expectations. Yeah, you have stepped so outside of comfort zones that even people who didn't have any restrictions would never have stepped outside of.
And until talking with you and talking to Teresa. Hi, Teresa. I'm sure you're watching Teresa, at some point.
Hey, to our publisher.
I really didn't realize how different. Like, I just live life. One of the questions was, what are you most accomplished? And I looked at my husband and was like, I don't know. You just live. You don't let it get in your way.
God, tissue. I'm going, no, that's so true. And because you're not out starting support. Many things in the stories that I edit and I've looked at for hundreds of people over the last couple of years is that they've always wanted to write or share their story. There's a lot of people, I would say 95% of the population feels they have something to share that could better other people by sharing their story. Now, a lot of them hesitate because they feel like, well, I'm not a writer, or who would really want to hear something from me? Or what if the person I want who has traumatized me or something is still alive? And, I've done a lot of coaching in the sense of it's still your perspective, guys, it's, boys and girls, we get to tell our own story. And if you don't, somebody else is going to tell it for you. And, my sister and I wrote a story a couple of years ago, and we looked at our first couple of decades growing up together, and we went through different episodes, and our perspective in the same house, same parents, same. And we were just like, and this was just 2 years ago. And we were like, I'm 58. And I was like, what? And it really helped us blend and learn to love each other differently, to accept our perspectives. And so as I circle back to you, what I would say to you in regards to not feeling like you are, everybody's special, right? And if we don't share what we've been through or what we've learned or what we're struggling with, I really believe it's a disservice to the rest of humanity.
It is, and I'm really
Because
learning that.
it
Yes.
is such a disservice. I talk about this person, Walt, a couple of years ago. I was posting on LinkedIn and I was doing this documentary type series, and I hadn't heard from him for almost 10 years. And this story's public, so I can tell it. And he reached out to me when I was talking with a client virtually, just like this. And I saw his phone number come up on my phone and I couldn't answer it. And so I hurried up. I paused it and I hurried it because I knew I felt something in my gut was not right. And long story short, by me reaching out to want to share other people's stories, he had said it had prevented him from hurting himself. And this is from a LinkedIn post.
Wow.
LinkedIn post about nothing to do with, it wasn't about mental health. It was all about wellness, health and wellness balancing. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying to you. That's what I'm saying to anybody else. Find somebody to help you vessel your story. Even if you need, if you need, call people and ask to be on radio shows, email me, let me help you. Let me give you a vessel to get stuff out there. But you are just realizing how damn special you are. It's cracking me up.
Yes, I have joined some support groups on Facebook and just parents who are just having their kids that have TAR syndrome, the questions they have now. Really blessed to make friends with Marla and her daughter and just TARs in Texas and Kentucky. And they're like, well, what do we do? Because the awesome thing is I have never had a surgery on my hands.
I know it.
So many have. So many have. And to them, I commend you for going that route and doing what you needed to do. My parents didn't feel I needed that. The doctor said, she could possibly lose what she's already gained if she does. So if you need that, please take it. But I'm here to tell you that you might not need that. And it's amazing what medical specialists can do. It really is. But not having it, it's pretty amazing too.
Wow, that's great. So when you met your husband,
Yes.
Obviously he knew you before. It wasn't, you didn't meet on a dating app. What conversations did you have? Did you have any out of the gate, or they just weren't discussed? Like, yo, this is who I am. Like, any conversations out of the gate, or you just, because if we were all blind, we wouldn't see stuff, right? I mean, I've joked about that before. I've said that discrimination would go away if nobody could see.
Exactly.
It would go away. Because I'm not going to judge somebody if they're 350 pounds. I'm not going to judge somebody based off the color of their skin. So did you guys just really get to know each other's character and values? And
yeah, so he was and is really cute. So I was like, oh, he's cute, but again, he was younger, so I kept my distance. But every day he would come to the concession stand where I was working and he would help me shut down. So we had shutters, we had to take down and lock. And every day he would come up and he would put the shutters down for me. And for the longest time, I thought, he was just being nice. And he was being nice, but he also didn't know if it was hard for me. And I just thought that was one of the purest, kindest things that he could have done, because here I am thinking, oh, he's just doing it because I'm a girl. And he was selflessly doing it as well, just making sure that I wasn't going to hurt myself. Because we've talked, I am smaller. So those shutters, they're big, they're heavy. I'm on a little ladder trying to bring it down and not let it shut on the napkins. And
so you guys started out just really in that place of respecting each other and helping,
yes.
kindness. And is TARS hereditary?
It is. It can be.
It
So it is mutated gene, and I have looked, but I have not done a 23andMe kind of thing. So we don't know where it came from in my family specifically. I know some families have. They have done the 23andMe and they found exactly where it came from. Just word of mouth with my family. No one. They're like, we don't know where it came from. Unfortunately, though, we have had quite a few infant deaths. So I don't know if any of those had it.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that there were side effects. I'm glad that you're speaking that, right? Because that can make a huge difference. What do you think people get wrong about you the most?
Probably when they first look at me and they think she can't.
Hmm.
She can't. She just, and then it happens. They look at me, they're like, oh, she's pretty. She has a nice smile, but she can't. And then I walk in and I teach Sunday school or I take charge of a classroom and the kids just love and respect. And it's because I'm loving and respecting them. And I get down on their level and I talk to them and answer every single question they have. I pull up their arm and go down through it and say, hey, this is what your wrist is. This one is mine. You feel this side, this is your bone. This is your other bone. Now feel mine. And there's only one.
Right.
And yeah, so it's really.
Girl, you're such a blessing. You're such a unique person. You know, all of us, if we would just embrace kind of why we're here and what we're good at. I think over the decades of working with people, that's the question that people struggle with the most. Is I hear this question all the time. What's my why? What's my purpose? And they're seeking it and they're waiting it. I always said it doesn't show up in the mail. It won't, because until you try different things, you don't even really know what you're good at or what makes you feel full. Grab a paintbrush if you've never, why would you think that you can't paint if you've never painted?
Exactly.
But there are some people that, I fell into my purpose. And I know that because I believe that the way you identify your purpose is when it makes you sit up and you see the whites of someone's eyes, right? They lean forward and their blood pressure might go up a little bit. That body language, that energy, if you hold right in that and you go, whoa, what am I doing right now that's sparking me? Because go down that path. That's your passion, but you were put on this earth for a mission. It is clearly designed for you. I mean, you are serving without serving.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I think that so many just quips that you have said today, somebody even thinking that you can't, and then it just happens. Like,
Yes.
that's brilliant. All right. So I contacted you because I said, love your story. Love your smile. That's really all I said. I want you to write the foreword for my upcoming compilation book. And I said, Martariesa, this is what it's about. Wellness GPS. The acronym stands for Getting Prepared for Success. It's when you hop in your car of life and you're setting your GPS and you think you're going there. And then there's a detour, an obstacle, and it takes you different places in your car. What are you going to do? And the reason that I really felt that you represented that story beautifully is that there have been and will be some of those obstacles and detours and shape shifting and pivoting and things that you've had to do, heart, spirit, mind, or body, that people are going to learn from you. And so I reached out to you and you've written the foreword and I greatly appreciate it. I can't wait for people to read it. How has it affected you over the last couple of months of knowing your story is going to be out there, knowing that you're writing the foreword, starting interviews? How does this all feel for you to be out there?
I'm excited. I am. We've talked and again, I just live. And so a lot of times I don't think I'm doing anything spectacular. But as I'm telling people and people are like, why didn't you tell us sooner? This is awesome. You already inspired me. You inspired me. And I'm like, what? I just am your friend. I'm just, your coworker. I just do what I think I'm supposed to do. I just show up. And they're like, well, there's a lot of people that don't.
I know. And you guys, I need you to hear this. If you're having a hard time telling your story, because this is a very good point that you're bringing up. Many people have a hard time leading with I statements on even especially social media. Like, hey, I did this. I wrote a book. I won a trophy, whatever. I. We still have a hard time with that. And if you have an opportunity where you can share through a share, right? So for instance, you got that with me. You can go hit a share button where I'm bragging about you and I'm sharing what you're doing, because many people have to, even the first time they get published or do whatever, have a really hard time even letting their family and friends know what they're doing. So if you guys are out there doing something and there's an opportunity to hit a share button, right, to let others
Yes.
speak for you, then let us speak to you. You can even put a link of something that you're interested in and tease people into understanding. If you don't share, I respect that you are saying you don't think that you're special, but you are a very special woman.
Thank
And I
you.
want to ask you, as we go into the new year, what would you give to a call to action, those listening and watching you to face 2024?
To focus more on you. I really do, because there's so much that we want, but are we doing what we need? And we have to. And knowing those differences. So focusing on you, making those memories with those people who we're not promised tomorrow. So, you know, that's one of my New Year challenges, is making more time with my family intentionally. Not, oh, we're going to have family dinner. You got to be there. It's okay. I work close to my aunt. Let's have a lunch date. Not because we have to, but because we want to make those more intentional moves. So focusing on you and bettering yourself compared to your last year, not anyone else's, but
Yeah, I like
yourself.
that. You do always say that kind of stay in your own lane and try to move away from whatever quote unquote normalcy is, or what the societal expectations. And, you know, I love that, because you framed it in a way that it is kind of self-care without saying that buzzword that everybody's so sick of, because it really is about relationships. I mean, people are losing their homes and they're having a hard time paying their bills, and they don't want people to know they're struggling. And if we can just somehow have a connection of a walk, you know,
Yes.
whatever it looks like, for anybody. All right. So what is your goal for yourself for 2024?
To put myself first. In 2024, I am going to intentionally put myself first. I am going to take better care of myself emotionally, mentally, physically, and let my story be known. And that's a big thanks to you, a big thanks to Teresa. All glory to God. Thanks to the new friendships I found at the church I'm going to, and just everything coming together. A lot of times, you know, I shifted my perspective. I shifted my life to be close to my family when they needed me, to be here for Isabel when she needed me. And now 2024, I need to focus on me so I can give back again. And I really feel, you know, you need to fill your cup so that you can fill other cups. Because if yours is empty, how are you going to fill? And I'm sure mine is already overflowing with blessings. I just need to fill it a little bit with me.
Yeah, I always say you can't head up over Eisenhower Tunnel at 40,000 feet on an empty tank of gas. We all fill up
Exactly.
first, right? So how can people reach out to you or find you if they have questions or want to see what's going on? How would you like people to contact you?
I am on Facebook. I don't post a lot about my personal life, but I do share about what I'm doing. So you'll see a lot of shares. More recently with your book, with your authors, they are all inspiring. So woo woo for finding
So
some
they can
awesome
reach
people.
out on Messenger, on Facebook. That's
Yes, yes.
great.
And I am going to give my cell phone number, because a lot of times it's easy to just send that text like, hey, I don't really want to talk, but I just need to know someone's listening. Are you there? So my cell phone number, text, call 740-346-5068. I'm here for you. I'm blessed to have people who are there for me. So let me be here for you.
I have done a gazillion of these shows. I have been interviewed, and I have never had anybody give out their cell phone number to anyone. Like, that's tear dropping, you guys. That is just shows who you are to your character. You know, 1-800 Martariesa. All right. I want to give you guys a few housekeeping things, and then we're going to give our guest a big hug here. I want you to go onto my website at allthingswellness.com. I want you to head over to the authors tab and look down there. Yes, I've got some things that I've already done, but I want you to look at one specific spot, and that's a place called Unsheltered. We are doing a compilation book, my co-author Dennis Potoko and myself, and we are writing stories about people who we're going and getting them. We're going to the we get it. These are real stories of people who are homeless, have been homeless. If you are 1 degree from somebody who has been or is homeless, and you can share with us what the real deal is and how we can start to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. It's infuriating. I have goosebumps on how many people misunderstand this population, and every one of you guys are 1 paycheck away from a potential of these events that can happen sequentially and get your butt out on the street. So I'm begging for you to do that. And I'm going to see you in 2 weeks. I am on every second and fourth Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Martariesa, big hearts to you. Big thank you so much for being with us. You guys have any questions, reach out to me, Peggy at allthingswellness.com. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to The Coach Peggy Show, All Things Wellness with Coach Peggy Willms. Tune in live on transformationtalkradio.com, where Coach Peggy talks all things wellness, not just nutrition and fitness, but about all things, about your money, your lifestyle, your beliefs, and even romance. The Coach Peggy Show, bold, badass, and never half in. For more information or to connect with Coach Peggy, visit allthingswellness.com.